society needs to be more accepting of men. What do I want to say? Taking on less traditional jobs, and encouraging men to retrain and find their place in the new economy, so all Americans can prosper. All right. And then the implications, that would be something like just something, if something is not done to help American men, they will continue to be disenfranchised and fall down the economic ladder. All right. So again, you could do both of these points and explore the entire debate, or you could just focus on one and make a hard argumentative point. Let's see if we're doing women in the workforce. I think I can probably just steal this one. This idea of, but then here, this one might be that women are still behind, but women are still behind men. Oh my gosh, my typing. When it comes to salary and higher, what do I want to say? I mean, like higher positions such as CEO and higher corporate positions, maybe, or how about in leadership positions? That probably makes more sense. So the wage gap exists and is due to women's skills not being valued. That is argumentative. A lot of people would say that women also play a role in the wage gap. I mean, we could talk about that too, the wage gap also exists because women are held back from leadership positions due to family, family obligations or something like that. And I mean, really the only way to say it is discrimination. And so, oh my gosh, me and autocorrect today. And so here, I would look for some examples of that. So I would look for statistics on CEOs and look for examples of women affected by this. And then the implications, that would be something like, in order to make America truly equal, women, I don't know, like efforts must be made to close the wage gap and move women into positions of leadership. All right, so something like that. Now, you can look at specific occupations with both of these. So here, for example, if you're talking about option 2 here, that men have fallen behind because they have not adapted to a changing economy, there, you could talk about the field of nursing, for example. Nursing, we all know, is a field where there are jobs, and yet men don't go into those jobs as much. If men were more willing to go into those jobs, it would be easier for them to get gainful employment. So I could focus in on some specific examples with this topic. The same is true of this one, right? I could look at some specific fields and ways that women aren't put into leadership positions. So digging down and finding those specific examples. This is the very last one I want to do. So the factual level, implications of media on body image. This is one that you could do with boys and or girls. Either way you want to do it. So factual, that would be just that media affects body image. And also that the images people see in the media are not, what do we want to say, conducive to a positive body image. Okay. And again, I would look for stats and examples there. And so then my argumentative level, right, would be that, images in the media lead to an increase in eating disorders in both girls and boys. And then I would look for stats and examples of both. And then my implications, that would be, again, I could talk about regulations, right? What do we want to say? To shift the types of bodies we see in media. I don't know. This one maybe needs work. Or maybe that treatment needs to be better. I have no idea. It's really hard to say that regulations should change this. Maybe private industry should work too. That might work better. But so now hopefully you have a good idea of what it means to do a 3-story paper. Really, really quick here. I just want to show you guys before I let you go. Crap, just one second. Okay. So this is, I think pretty sure I'm in our Canvas course. Yeah, I am. So within our Canvas course, oh gosh darn it to heck. Just one second. I got to log back in. Come on, Canvas. Oh gosh darn it. I just wanted to show you guys here real quick. Within the course, I do have a number of articles that could be helpful. So here we're in the assignment pages, and then if you keep going, this is where your schedules and journal sets are, and then this was the Edmondson paper. This is the synthesis paper. So if you look down here, this other sources for the synthesis paper, I have quite a few NPR stories here that you guys can listen to that are about different things dealing with gender. If you listen to any of these and you don't use them in your paper, you can write over these for extra credit. So let's see. So like if you listen to this one about women in Saudi Arabia before they could obtain driver's licenses, which by the way, I need to update this because women in Saudi Arabia now can't get driver's licenses as of 2017, I think later in 2017. But anyway, but this one I think is an example of how for your paper you could do like gender differences between countries. I think we especially think of the Middle East as being a place where women don't have a lot of rights, but that's just not true of every country in the Middle East. So you could look at cultural differences and gender. I think that's a really interesting one. Something we talked about in my Thursday class was even cultural issues with gender within the United States. So like concepts of machismo in Hispanic culture and how that is a conflict for some Hispanic men or how some Hispanic men try to move past that, but that's hard for them because of cultural pressures. And this one that I have down here, this one is about Japanese men. In Japanese culture, they have a similar concept of masculinity that it's sort of similar to the idea of machismo. And so they are not very romantic guys. They don't say things like, I love you. And so this is a really funny story. It's about on Valentine's Day, the Japanese now have a tradition where it's like a stage and husbands get on the stage and scream about how much they love their wives on national television, and it's really hilarious. But I think this would be an awesome example to show how men in this culture are kind of pushing back against traditional ideas of masculinity. And they even talk about in the story how some of those ideas are not always productive, how it's led to divorces for some of the men. So, so I think that's kind of an interesting one, how masculinity is seen across cultures. Let's see if I come back up here. This one is a story about women in the workplace. This is about Title IX. This one is about women in chess. This one is about women in sports reporting. There was just a current event about that one recently. If you like sports, this could be an interesting one to think about. I think it was a football player who he kind of jokingly said to a female sports reporter, how do you know so much about football? And it made national headlines. This story is a little bit older, but if you want to do a paper over that, that could be a good idea. This one is just about the feminist movement in general. You could write a paper about the feminist movement. Is the feminist movement positive or negative? What have the impacts of the feminist movement been? That's definitely an argumentative paper you could do. This one is an eating disorders in men story. I think this one is really interesting. If we have time next week, we might listen to it. But this one follows a young boy who has an eating disorder. Now, any of these you could use as a source in your paper. I think you need to have 2 2 to 3 sources minimum. And so, especially if you're looking for a specific example, I think these can be helpful. This one is about stay at home dads, especially during the recession, there was a surge of stay at home dads. This one is about concepts of masculinity in Hollywood and how that's changing. I think that would be a really cool paper to write, changing conceptions of masculinity in Hollywood. You could do the same thing. You could do changing conceptions of femininity in Hollywood. This one is just about changing masculinity and how masculinity is changing in America. Um, this one, I mean, oh yeah, that's I talked about that one, the Japanese one already. And then I like this one. This is a fun one from some guys who have a popular, two popular blogs who are both stay-at-home dads, about kind of making an effort to redefine what fatherhood means. So any of these might give you topic ideas for your paper if you're having a hard time. So maybe think about coming here and listening to, I don't know, to 1 or 2 of these. And then if you don't end up using it in your paper, you can do an extra credit write up for me. 1 page, half summary, half response, double space typed, is 5 points, 2 pages is 10 points. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. I hope that the 3 story stuff helped you. I hope that we're feeling better about posting on the discussion board about our 3 stories. And if you have any questions, please message me. All right, thanks so much, guys, and enjoy your snow day.